with his attorneys, and the prosecutors are present as well. We are outside the presence of the jury. Would counsel approach so that I can follow up on the communication from the juror earlier today, who has asked us to keep this private? Okay, let's bring the jury in, please. Please be seated, everyone. Welcome back, members of the jury. I hope you had a good lunch. Yes, good. I don't know if you get a chance to go out, but it's a beautiful day out there. So I think that at the end of the morning session, there was an outstanding request to publish some of the exhibits that were admitted earlier today. Ms. Pearson, are you still asking that some of those exhibits be published?
I am, Your Honor. I would ask that everything be published with the exception of the chairs.
Okay. All right. Ms. Gerlings and Ms. Zagel. And it probably makes sense to go row by row to avoid any confusion. Or to just go with the first row. Okay, the record should reflect that we just finished publishing all of the exhibits admitted this morning with the exception of the photographs and the seats. Call your next witness, please.
People call Brian Platt.
Good afternoon. Could I have you raise your right hand so that I can administer a oath? You solemnly swear or affirm in the penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
Yeah, Brian Thomas Platt, BrianThomasPlatt.
Thank you. Mr. Edson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Sir, what do you do for a living?
I own a company called KeepShooting.com.
Are you also familiar with a company name, BTP Arms?
Yes, that is a trading company I also own.
First of all, what is KeepShooting.com?
It is a website that I use to market goods that I import from Europe.
What is BTP Arms? And also, how is that related to KeepShooting.com?
BTP Arms is the licensed entity that I use to purchase the goods that are sold on KeepShooting.com.
How long have you been in business with KeepShooting.com?
Since October of 2002.
Fair to say you were in business in May of 2012?
Yes, sir.
Also July of 2012.
Yes, sir.
What type of products are sold through your website of KeepShooting.com?
It's primarily military surplus and firearms accessories.
I'm going to direct your attention to a date on or around May 10th of 2012. On or around that time period, did you receive an order from an individual by the name of James Holmes?
Yes.
I also want to direct your attention to a time period shortly after July 20th to 2012. In the days, weeks, and months after July 20th, 2012, were you contacted by law enforcement requesting records associated with James Holmes?
Yes, I was.
Did you provide those records to law enforcement?
Yes, I did.
Who else is employed or employees of KeepShooting.com?
I have some family that works for me, and folks that I hired. So it's primarily a small family-oriented business.
Let me ask you this. What is your role in KeepShooting.com? Are you the owner, CEO?
I am the sole proprietor, the sole owner. It's 100% my business. There's no partners or anything like that.
Okay. Are you familiar with the record-keeping system with KeepShooting.com?
Yes, I am.
Are you the one that actually,
Yes, I do.
you handle all the records?
Yes, every business record is maintained by me.
You're the custodian of records?
Yes.
The records that you provided to law enforcement related to James Holmes' purchase of May 2012, were those records kept in your normal and ordinary course of business?
Yes, they were.
Are they an accurate reflection of the order from May of 2012?
Yes, it is.
Madam, may I approach the witness, please?
Yes.
For the record, I have shown the exhibit to counsel as well. Sir, I've handed you what's been previously marked as People's Exhibit 651. I believe it's a two-page document. I'd like you to take a look at that and tell me when you're done.
Okay, I'm done.
Have you seen that exhibit before?
Yes, I have.
Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is the printout that I provided to law enforcement.
The two separate pages, just in general, without getting into great detail, what do they refer to?
They refer to an order that was placed on May 10th, 2012.
And was there a customer associated with that purchase?
Yes, the customer name is James Holmes.
And do those records fairly and accurately depict the invoice and order documentation that's kept in the normal and ordinary course of KeepShooting.com's business?
Yes, they do.
Judge, I would move for admission of People's Exhibit 651.
Any objection, Ms. Brady?
No, sir.
All right, without objection, P-TR-651 is admitted and may be published.
Thank you, Judge. Could I please have the first page of People's Exhibit 651 published on the screens? Sir, I'm not going to ask you to stand up or anything. I just need you to keep your voice up into the microphone. Can you see that up on the screen?
Yes.
You also have the actual physical exhibit in front of you as well, as you need to refer to that. My first question is, what is the date of the order for People's Exhibit 651?
It's May 10th, 2012.
Do you even have a time associated? Approximately?
Yes, the time would be 2:02 and 11 seconds in the morning.
I see there it says order status complete. What does that refer to?
That references that this order has been shipped.
I'm going to draw your attention to the right side of the first page of People's Exhibit 651 where it says customer name, email. Can you talk to the jury about those, please?
Yeah, the customer name is James Holmes, and that would have been what was entered into the website when the order was placed. It looks like the email address is dsherlockb@hotmail.com, and customer group is not logged in.
What does that mean?
That means that when the order was placed, an account was not created.
Somewhat in the middle there, there's a section that says place from IP. Do you see that?
I do.
What is the IP number, please?
It's 67.166.24.237.
Can you tell the jury, please, the billing and shipping address for that particular order?
Yes, the billing and shipping addresses are the same, and they are James Holmes, 1690 Paris Street, number 10, Aurora, Colorado, 80010, United States.
If I could scroll down just a bit, please. The middle of the screen there, payment information, do you see that section?
Yes,
Fair to say a credit card was used?
yes,
What type of credit card?
a MasterCard.
You tell the jury the last four digits of that card number, please.
Yes, the last four digits were 2217.
And the name on the card?
James E. Holmes.
If I could scroll down a bit further, please. And a little bit more, maybe one more click. Sir, now I have here, I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I think this is the actual product information. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is the product information.
Can you tell the jury, please, what was ordered by James Holmes on May 10th, 2012 from KeepShooting.com?
2 clear-out 6-ounce tear gas grenades.
Anything else?
Nothing else was ordered.
What was the grand total, including any shipping that may occur?
$43.79.
Again, towards the end there, at the bottom, it's got a May 14th date, and it says complete. What does that refer to?
That refers to the date and time that the order was shipped, and it lists a UPS World Ship Tracking number.
Based on your review of these records, does it appear that this order was complete and successfully transferred to the customer?
Yes, it does.
If I could go to page 2 of People's Exhibit 651, please. Just for completeness, that top information, what is that referring to, if anything?
It just has the address of our company, invoice number, and order date.
And the next page of People's Exhibit 651. This one's a little bit harder to read, but I'd just like you to tell the jury, what is this document?
This document would have been included in the box that was shipped to the customer that placed the order.
Does this also include the product that was ordered?
Yes, it does list the product that was ordered.
And what was that?
Clear out 6-ounce tear gas grenade, 2 of them.
Thank you. If I could have People's Exhibit 2138, it's a photograph already admitted. Sir, up on the screen now is People's Exhibit 2138. It's already been admitted into evidence. Can you take a look at that photograph?
Yes,
Do you recognize that?
yes.
What is that?
That is a 6-ounce,
Are you familiar with Clear Out?
yes.
What is it?
It is very similar to a roach fogger that you would buy at Home Depot.
Are you familiar with the effects of Clear Out if somebody comes in contact with it?
No, I'm not familiar with the effects.
Okay, you can take that down, thank you. Is Clear Out like a tear gas type of product?
It's more similar to pepper spray.
Okay. And fair to say you do not manufacture Clear Out?
No, I don't.
Okay. Based on the information that you have from the records, was this order of quantity of 2 Clear Outs placed before June 7th, 2012?
Yes, it was.
Was this order of Clear Out, these 2 quantities of Clear Out, also placed before May 17th of 2012?
Yes, it was.
Judge, one moment, please.
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination, Ms. Brady?
No questions, thank you.
And the jury does not seem to have any questions. May this witness be released from his subpoena, Mr. Edson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Brady? No, sir. All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Call your next witness, please.
Judge, can I have one moment, please?
Yes. You can put all those exhibits on the table unless you're going to use those. Thank you.
Your Honor, the people call Christopher Russell. Judge, I am going to retrieve the one exhibit if I may be allowed to.
Yes. I can administer an oath. You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last name?
My name is Christopher Eugene Russell, Christopher, Eugene, Eugene, Russell, Russell.
Mr. Edson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, how are you employed?
I'm a owner proprietor of Bulletproof Body Armor HQ.
What is Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
It's a online business that allows people to purchase protective clothing and items for their personal protection.
May I have you speak a little bit more? You can move that microphone if you need to.
Okay.
Are you the owner and CEO of that company?
Yes, sir, I am.
As the sole proprietor and owner of Bulletproof Body Armor HQ, are you familiar with the record-keeping system for that company?
I am.
Are you, in fact, the sole person responsible for all the records of customer orders and such for Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
I am.
I'm going to refer back to July of 2012, specifically July, on or around July 2nd, 2012. Were you in business as Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
I was.
Also, in the days after July 20th, 2012, were you contacted by law enforcement related to records and purchases that may have been made by a James Holmes from Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
I was.
Did you provide those records to law enforcement?
I did.
Tell the jury, what exactly is Bulletproof Body Armor HQ? What does your business entail?
Basically, it's, again, a website online presence to be able to allow people to purchase bullet-resistant clothing and articles of wear to protect themselves in, personal protection or on-duty protection.
Can non-military, non-law enforcement, in other words, the general public, order items from Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
They can.
Is there any particular requirements associated with that?
There is none other than the fact that they cannot be a felon to own or possess a article of clothing.
Okay. Do you manufacture the items you sell?
I do not.
Okay. Do you work with other companies?
I do.
Just in detail, you don't have to get into great specificity, but how do you, somebody orders something online through your website, how do you fulfill the order ultimately?
Basically, the order comes in for the items that were chosen through the website, through a cart. That order, once paid for through a method of payment, Visa card or PayPal, then the order comes directly to my desk, and then I process the order by going through the items that are ordered and then calling the distributor manufacturer of the product.
I may have asked you this, and I apologize if I have. How long have you been in business with Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
We were originally started back in 2008, 2009.
Explain to the jury, if you would please, how you maintain customer records associated with purchases?
They're all electronically stored through the database on the web server, which is basically where all of the X's and O's are located on a server in Texas.
Okay.
But, I have access to those records just by clicking an admin section of my website.
What type of payment methods do you accept online?
We do Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal.
What type of shipping options, company-wise, are generally available?
We only offer shipping through FedEx. Even though the website says that the option is United States Postal Service, UPS, that's just because we have a way to access for people to know how much they're going to pay for that particular shipping. FedEx doesn't offer that, so it's not through the website, but we only do our shipping through FedEx. So it's not.
For the records that I was talking about and the customer invoices and receipts and documents associated with sales, do you also receive documents from FedEx related to the shipping of those products?
Yes, absolutely. All we would receive would be documents from FedEx after the item was shipped.
Is that a normal and ordinary course of business for you to obtain records from FedEx associated with the shipment of products?
It is.
Specifically about PayPal, do you also receive documents from PayPal associated with customer orders that may have used PayPal to facilitate those transactions?
Yes,
Do you receive those records from PayPal?
we do.
Do you keep those in the ordinary course of your business?
We do.
Judge, first record is this. I'm going to be handing the witness People's Exhibit 364 with the court's permission. This exhibit is attached to 362 and 363. They have already been admitted and not associated with this witness.
Okay,
If I may approach, Judge?
you may.
And for the record, Judge, I'm showing counsel now.
Okay.
Sir, I've handed you a rather large packet of documents there, but I'm going to refer you specifically to People's Exhibit 364. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have you flip through all the documents associated with People's Exhibit 364 and tell me when you've done so.
Okay,
Have you reviewed all of the documents associated with People's Exhibit 364?
I have.
Just in general, what are all of those documents related to?
They're basically the single transactions, the single transaction of the purchase of 4 items from the website.
I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit. When you were contacted by law enforcement, did you provide them with these actual records, People's Exhibit 364?
I did.
Does this appear to be the original records that you provided law enforcement?
It is.
Now,
Or I
is-
believe so, yeah.
Okay, as part of that, does it appear that there may be a couple of pages that are duplicate pages?
There is, it looks like there is.
Okay, so I've got to make a record here regarding this.
Okay,
The first page there, is that similar to what would be the third page? Both of which, at the lower right corner, have a 7/24/2012 at 10:20 a.m. Do you see what I'm talking about?
yes,
I want you to look at those 2 pages and tell me whether they are the same pages.
they appear to be.
Okay. No additional information between those 2 pages, is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. What would be the 4th page, and I recognize I don't have this numbered as such, but the 4th page that's also got a time and date stamp at the bottom, the 7/24/2012 with a date stamp of 6:33 p.m. Do you see that?
Yes,
Now, is that document different than the very first page, and if so, how?
yes, this document, the reason why it's different is because this would be the actual packaging slip that would have been sent out to the customer.
The following page right behind that, where again, the date and timestamp is 7/24/2012 at 6:32 p.m.
Okay,
Is that the same or different than the first page?
that's the same as the first page.
Okay. So just so you know, what I'm trying to do, sir, is I'm trying to deduce exactly what pages are duplicates and which are not.
Right.
Did you hand law enforcement, did you turn over to law enforcement
2 sets.
2 sets of documents?
Yes,
And some of them are duplicates of one another, is that correct?
correct.
Okay. So is it fair to say that the very first page here, the one that's got the 10:20 a.m., that is an invoice from Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
It is.
And the other pages, with the exception of the packing slip invoice that you referred to, the other pages are duplicates. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. All of these documents, are they documents that you keep in your ordinary and regular course of business through Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
They would be. They are.
And do these documents fairly and accurately, and again, in the regular course of your business, reflect the transaction from May 10th, 2012?
Yes.
Actually, let me strike that, not May 12th, July 2nd, 2012.
Right. That would have been the date the order was placed.
Okay. Judge, at this time, I will move for admission of People's Exhibit 364. I will agree to remove some of the duplicate pages as just testified to.
All right, Ms. Brady, with the understanding that the duplicates will be removed. Any objection?
No, sir.
Okay, without objection, P-TR-364 is admitted and may be published, but again, you'll have to modify it to remove any duplicates.
Understood. Thank you, sir. If I could just publish the first page of People's Exhibit 364, and Judge, that will be the page that we will keep within the exhibit. Do you recognize this, sir?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to just kind of talk you through a little bit here. Need you to keep your voice up into the microphone. Is this an invoice from Bulletproof Body Armor HQ?
That's a copy of one.
Okay. Am I using the right term, invoice?
Yes.
Do you see an invoice number?
It's 545.
This order, who was it sold to?
James Holmes,
What was the address that the items were shipped to?
1690 Paris Street, apartment number 10, Aurora, Colorado, 80010.
Is there a phone number associated with this order?
There is.
What is that number?
858-449-7348.
Is there an email associated with this order?
There is.
What is that?
DSHERLOCKB@hotmail.com.
What was the date of the order?
Monday, July 2nd, 2012.
And the method of payment?
Would have been through PayPal.
If you could scroll down just a bit. Fair to say in the middle of the screen here, this is the actual product order, is that correct?
That is.
I'd like you just to talk through what the actual sale was to the jury, please.
Okay, so the items that were ordered were 4 different items. The first one was a torso neck protection. That is basically a 3A bullet-resistant neck protection. The second item was a bulletproof arm protection. That is a 3A protection for bullet resistance.
I'm going to stop you right there. What do you mean by 3A?
Okay, 3A is the highest level that's obtainable in a flexible Kevlar type material, bullet resistant material. The next level up with that would be like a level 3, which would be for rifle plates or something like that.
So I didn't mean to stop you there, but what was the next item?
The third item would have been a flat 3A groin protector, basically a flat Kevlar groin protector.
Describe that a little bit more, please. What are you talking about?
Okay, so it's basically 9 inches across, 6 inches in depth, about a quarter of an inch, I should say, in width. It's on a belt, and it's worn either in the pants uniform or outside the pants uniform, mostly inside the pants, for protection for the genital region.
If you know, what is Kevlar?
Kevlar is a product that's manufactured by DuPont. That is a woven product that is layered, and upon applying those layers of Kevlar, to a specific amount of layering, you will get bullet resistance to certain levels. There's 3 different levels, 2A, 3A, and then 3, and those levels vary in thickness, which will allow you to stop a certain type of projectile up to so many feet per second.
Like the name of your company suggests, are these items body armor type material?
Yes.
You were about to talk about the 4th item there. What is that?
The 4th item here is a groin protector, again, protection for the genital area of a male in particular. And this would be something that would look similar to a cup that you'd wear in playing baseball.
What was the, I won't even bother with the subtotal, but the grand total, including any shipping, what was the total for these items?
$903.67.
So $903.
$903.67.
We could scroll down just a bit more, please. You have in its entirety, with the exception of some of the duplicate documents, People's Exhibit 364 in front of you. Can you tell the jury, please, about whether it appears this item was in fact shipped, whether it reached its destination, based on your records?
Well, based on this sheet here, which is standard on every single order that we take, depending on what type of payment, as soon as the transaction is completed, this would have been the second line down from the top there. It says PayPal status pending e-check. That means that he didn't have a Visa card or a MasterCard on file with PayPal, so they were going to withdraw the funds directly from his bank account.
And again, just not to interrupt you, but you're familiar with PayPal as far as your business transaction goes, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Go
We
ahead.
use it monthly, daily. And then the transaction ID, which will give you a reference to be able to, coordinate that with PayPal itself. If you put that transaction ID into PayPal's system or call them on the phone, they will know specifics on this particular transaction. Then it looks like the transaction was completed on 7/6, which when the funds would have come in from his bank account, would have been deposited into PayPal, and then on the 16th, it looks like we updated this record with the FedEx tracking number, which would have been on the very bottom line.
So again, you've got the documents in front of you there, and you can
I do.
refer to them as need be. Was there any sort of express shipment requested or anything like that for these items?
I don't see any express order on here. Usually it would say something like overnight or 2-day. This just says 4 to 7 day.
Okay. Again, with the documents and records that you have in front of you, does it appear that the items that were ordered from your company were received by James Holmes?
They would be not by that sheet, but by the FedEx sheet that is at fedex.com under our shipping account.
Do you have that document in front of you?
I do.
Okay. Go ahead and refer to that as you need to. Again, my question is, can you confirm that the items were shipped and received by James Holmes?
They were shipped. They were shipped out on the 11th at 3:34, which is when the item would have been, the box would have been accepted at the Kinko's location that they were shipped from. They were shipped from Kinko's location on 529 South Fort Harrison Avenue, Suite A4 in Clearwater, Florida.
What do you mean by shipped from Kinko's?
The items were boxed up and they were taken to the Kinko's location to be shipped under our FedEx account.
Okay. So then walk me through the confirmation that they were delivered.
Okay, so, if you put in a tracking number like everybody has from whenever you get a package, you can do the same with our stuff, and that is you put the tracking number in, you can see where the package is located and where it's been and where it's going to and where it's been delivered. So It's traveled on the 11th. It was in Tampa. On the 12th, it was in Orlando. The 13th, it was in Kansas City, Lexina, Kansas City. The 16th, it was in Henderson, Colorado. The 17th, it arrived at the FedEx facility in Denver, Colorado. The 17th, at 10 a.m., it was delivered via signature to Aurora, Colorado. I did provide proof of signature from James Holmes, which is in the paperwork as well. You just have to click on the link that says signature proof of delivery.
And just so we know, what do you mean by you have to click on the link?
I would, when you put the information in for a tracking, on our side of the world, I believe, since it's our account, we have the ability to click on signature proof of delivery.
So when was this item actually delivered to that Paris Street address?
It says right here, delivery date July 17th, 2012, 10 a.m., and it has his digital signature on the screen where the package is. When you receive the package, he sticks the machine out and you have to sign on the digital paper.
Now, are you familiar with FedEx as far as the digital signature process?
I am.
Okay, now I'm not going to ask you specifics about that. My question for you is, your products, the items that you personally sell to folks, do you require a signature like that?
Yeah, specifically when you're sending out items that are this caliber of expense, and because of the nature of the product itself, we specifically require that the person receiving the item has to sign for it, and it cannot be shipped to any other address but the billing address of the purchaser.
If I could just scroll back up on the document that's on the screen now, a little bit further, please. And again, Judge, this is the first page of People's Exhibit 364 for the record. I failed to ask you there, the second one, bulletproof arm protection. What exactly is that?
It's the same type of protection. It's a 3A protection, meaning a layered Kevlar product that looks sort of like the upper portion of the sleeve of my arm.
Let me ask you that. First of all, you're familiar with that particular type of arm protection, is that correct?
Yes.
Does that type of arm protection go over or under clothing, coats?
Can do either or. Traditionally, it's worn alongside of a bulletproof vest.
For both the neck protection and the arm protection, was there a specific color that was chosen?
There was black.
For both of those items?
It was black for basically all three because we only sell the Kevlar groin protector in black.
Okay.
And that means the flat Kevlar 3A groin protector.
Okay. So the top three were all in black?
Correct.
And when I say top three, I'm talking the neck protection, arm protection, and the flat Kevlar groin protection?
That's correct.
Judge, can I have one moment, please?
Yes.
Nothing further at this time. Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Brady, do you have any cross-examination?
No, sir, thank you.
All right. And the jury does not appear to have any questions for this witness. May this witness be released from his subpoena, Mr. Edson?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any objection?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Edson, make sure you modify that exhibit. Thank you. Please. All right, call your next witness.
The people call Charles DeFrance.
Good afternoon. Could I have you raise your right hand for me so that I can administer an oath? You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do so.
Please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
My name is Charles S. DeFrance, first name Charles, middle initial S, last name D-E, capital F-R-A-N-C-E.
Ms. Pearson, you may proceed.
Mr. DeFrance, how are you employed?
I'm a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation assigned to the Denver Division.
How long have you worked for the FBI?
I first became a full-time employee for the FBI in 1996.
What is your job for the FBI?
I currently work criminal intelligence here in the Denver Division, and I'm also a member of the evidence response team.
And is the evidence response team also called ERT?
Yes.
Did the ERT team that you're on, were they asked to assist at the Century 16 theater shooting in Aurora in July of 2012?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you respond to the theater at some point?
Yes, when the shooting occurred and I got word of it, I was actually out of town in Orocovis, Puerto Rico, and had to return to Denver. I made arrangements to return the next day, so that by the time I got back to Denver to assist, 2 days of processing had already occurred at the theater, so I came on the beginning of the third day.
What were your duties with regard to the theater?
My background, I started in the FBI in the Firearms Tool Marks Unit in the Laboratory Division, where I started as a physical science technician and then later as a forensic examiner. And I was qualified in firearms identification, tool mark identification, gunshot residue analysis, and shooting reconstruction. And for that reason, my primary duties when I arrived on scene was to evaluate that scene for the standpoint of a shooting reconstruction.
What did you begin to do in the theater?
When I arrived, I evaluated it. It definitely had a lot of potential for a shooting reconstruction, so I immediately began my work on that. And that first stage of a shooting reconstruction really revolves around identifying all the projectile impacts that are on the scene. So I started working on that, locating projectile impacts, documenting where they were, giving them a number, documenting their characteristics, and taking notes on their location as well.
Now, we previously saw with a witness a couple of photographs that had, for instance, 9-61. Are those the kind of notations that were being made on seats that had impacts in the theater that you were working on?
Yes, all the impacts that I was numbering, I used because we knew that from the beginning, from a quick evaluation of the scene, that we had impacts in both theater 9 and 8. We designated them with a 9 dash and then a number just sequentially given as I located those impacts. And then for any impacts in theater 8, it was 8 dash the number again, just sequentially numbered as I found them.
Were you the person who ultimately completed the shooting incident reconstruction?
No, I'm not.
Why was that?
After the first day of working in the scene, it was pretty apparent to me that the scope of the scene was very large from a standpoint of the number of shots fired, as well as just the complexity of the scene itself. There were a lot of chairs, there were a lot of elevation changes, steps, it was large rooms, and it was my advice that I provided to our senior team leader for ERT that we should contact the lab and request additional resources from the lab, and that's what we did.
Now, when you refer to the lab, do you mean the laboratory at Quantico?
Yes, I'm referring to the FBI laboratory in Quantico, Virginia.
With regard to marking the holes, had you started to use any kind of a device to provide data about where the holes were in the theater at the point that you made the decision that you should get assistance from Quantico?
Even before I arrived on scene, there was another agent that was already using an instrument called a total station, which is a survey instrument that we use on very large and very complex crime scenes that takes very accurate three-dimensional measurements of any point that you want to shoot in. And that's what she had already been working on for 2 days before I arrived, just documenting the overall scene, where the evidence was, and she continued to work on that with me as I was identifying the bullet impacts and we were taking notes on all of those bullet impacts, photographing them, and then additionally, their location was being measured using that total station.
Did a team from Quantico come out to the theater to assist in doing the shooting incident reconstruction?
Yes, they did.
Did they bring any additional equipment other than the total station that you had to help accomplish that?
One of the instruments that we were interested in getting out here and the laboratory division did bring was a laser scanner. The laser scanner is very useful in this type of a scene because it very indiscriminately will scan a room and measure pretty much everything that's within the view of that laser scanner and take very precise measurements, much in the same way that the total station does. But this picks up a lot more detail than the total station does. But those two pieces of data can be put together to make a single three-dimensional measurement of that scene.
Did you work with the team that came from Quantico to complete the marking of all of the holes and impacts in the theater, and then to do the shooting incident reconstruction that was done at the theater?
I did. I worked hand in hand with them. We had, in addition to the laser scanner, we had a couple gentlemen from the Firearms Tool Marks unit who I knew from when I worked there that came out, and we worked together on the scene. I actually had 2 days on scene before they arrived, so I identified a lot of the bullet impacts before they got there, and then once they were there, we worked together to review all the work that I did and complete the reconstruction.
Was data collected by the total station and the laser scanners that were in the theater?
Yes, ma'am.
What was done with that data?
That data was all, the data that was collected by the laser scanner was just taken back by the operator who was a member of the FBI laboratory. The data that we collected was downloaded and submitted to the laboratory to be used in their creation of diagrams and models.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Any cross-examination, Ms. Spengler?
No, thank you.
And the jury does not have any questions for this witness. May this witness be released from his subpoena.
He may, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Spengler?
No objection.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Call your next witness, please.
The people called Jennifer Jostes.
Good afternoon. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated.
Thank you.
Tell us your full name, please, and spell your first, middle, and last names.
Jennifer Ann Jostes, Jennnifer, Annjostes.
Ms. Pearson, you may proceed.
Ms. Jostes, who are you employed by?
The Federal Bureau of Investigation, Denver Division,
How long have you worked for the FBI?
since March of 2007, or I'm sorry, March of 2008,
So
about 7 years.
7 years? What do you do for the FBI?
I'm a special agent. I am currently assigned to the Safe Streets Task Force, Innocence Lost Task Force. Currently, I work juvenile prostitution cases. I also have a collateral duty, which includes the evidence response team. That is a team that's comprised of numerous agents and support staff that is assigned to and specially trained to collect evidence for particular crimes.
Could you please move the microphone closer to you?
Sure.
And so that everyone can hear you. There you go. All right, thank you. Ms. Pearson.
Were you part of an evidence response team that was asked to respond to the Century 16 Theater shooting in July of 2012?
Yes, I was.
What did your duties consist of with regard to the evidence response team or the ERT team?
We do have, it's called a TopCon total station. It's a piece of survey equipment that was assigned to the Denver Division to utilize to help document the evidence and the actual scene itself.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 2848. Do you recognize what that is a photograph of?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
It is the Denver Division's TopCon. The model number is GPT 3205NW, or yes, NW. 3205NW.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of People's Exhibit 2848.
Ms. Spengler, any objection?
No objection.
Did you say TopCon, C-O-N?
Yes, sir, it's TOPCON
Right,
is the
thank-
brand.
Okay, thank you. Without objection, P-TR-2848 is admitted and may be published.
Could I have 2848 up, please? So what are we looking at in this photograph?
So that's the actual total station unit and also the pole and the prism that's utilized with the total station unit. So the actual top of the unit that's yellow in color, that is the actual, it's called an electronic distance measuring instrument, which is the TopCon unit itself that we utilize that takes all of the measurements. That unit will measure the angles vertical and horizontal, and it'll also give us a distance measurement, and it'll send that back to a handheld electronic recording device that we utilize to get that machine at the top to work, and then that unit records all of the data. The handheld unit records all of the data, that we download the data off of that handheld unit, and then that data goes to the lab for them to process it as requested.
What's the red and white pole that is next to it or attached to it?
So often the total station operator needs we call them a rod man. RODMAN is what we typically call them. They're the ones who have to hold the rod and the prism if we can't see an item of evidence or see an area that we're trying to document, such as the holes, bullet holes, or cartridge casings. Smaller items sometimes we can't see or they're hidden behind other objects, and we utilize that pole with the prism, and that's what we'll focus our viewfinder on, is that actual prism. And then we put into the system, in the handheld device, we say how tall that pole is, so then it'll automatically deduct that certain range, which is typically, we use a standard of 5 feet, depending on whether we need to raise the pole or lower the pole. So we'll have an assistant that's usually instructed by someone who's been trained on the total station to operate it. We can have anyone be our assistant, and we just need to instruct them where to place that pole and how to hold the pole. They just hold it level.
Now, this looks similar to equipment that you see with road crews using on the side of a highway. Is it the same kind of science behind this?
It is. It's a standard off-the-shelf survey equipment that surveyors on the side of the road can also use.
What was the purpose of using this in the theater?
So rather than using tape measures to conduct measurements and take measurements of all the items of evidence, to measure the actual walls and the ceilings and how high everything was, instead of using tape measures to measure the distance of the holes relative to walls of the theater, this is way more accurate than using a tape measure and writing down the measurements. It's a plus or minus 2 millimeter margin of error with using the total station to give us the exact measurements. It's actually three-dimensional measurements of a point in space, which would be some of the evidence in this case.
How many days did you use the total station in the theater?
8 days.
Now, we heard the previous witness also talk about a laser scanner that was used in the theater. Is a laser scanner used in conjunction with the total station?
Quite often they can be used together. A laser scanner, from my training and experience, creates more of a point cloud where it can get more of an in-depth look at the area, but what the laser scanner can miss oftentimes are the smaller items, such as the bullet holes in the cartridge casings. It may not document or pick up every one of those holes or casings. So we typically use the total station. That is more accurate and can pick up those smaller holes and items of evidence. So what we would do is focus the viewfinder on the holes, and we would ask the instrument to record the measurement of where that hole is in three-dimensional space.
How do you determine that the total station is operating properly, that it works properly?
We calibrate them. Every time we set up the machine, we have to calibrate it, we have to level it. We're trained on how to level it, we're trained on how to calibrate it. And then we also put up something called a back sight, or if we have documented numerous other points in our scene, anytime we move it or anytime we set up the back sight and we check it to make sure that it's level, and the machine itself will tell us if there are any errors in having set it up.
Did you measure all of the bullet holes in Theater 9 with this device?
Yes, I did.
Did you measure all the bullet holes in Theater 8 with it as well?
Yes, I did. With the exception, in Theater 9, we did not document with the total station hole number 240 unit for them to construct whatever is requested by the case agents or the law enforcement agency requesting information created from it, so they can make 3D models, they can make actual physical models, they can do a lot of different projects with it.
Were you present both before and after the team came out from Quantico?
Yes, ma'am.
One moment. Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Any cross-examination, Ms. Spengler?
No, thank you.
And the jury does not appear to have any questions. May this witness be released from her subpoena?
She may.
Any objection?
Objection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call your next witness, please.
People call Corbin Dates.
Hey, Joyce. Come on this way, please.
Morning, or afternoon.
Could I have you raise, before you sit, could I have you raise your right hand for me so that I can administer an oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
My first name is Corbin, Corbin, middle name Lavon, Lavon, last name Dates, Dates.
All right, Ms. Tish McGuire, you may proceed.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Were you at the Century 16 movie theater in Aurora, Colorado on July 19th of 2012?
Yes, I was.
Did that go into the early morning hours of July 20th of 2012?
It did.
What were you doing the day of July 19th, 2012 prior to going to the movie theater that day?
I was working at a call center for Convergys. That following evening, everybody was trying to get out of work early to go see the Batman premiere. And I originally had no plans to go see it. Didn't even think about it, but it was a last-minute thought. So I went on Fandango before I left the building and tried to book 2 tickets for myself and a friend if I can get to come with me for Theater 8, but it was sold out, so I took Theater 9.
Who was your friend that you bought a ticket for that evening?
My original friend who was supposed to ride with me was my friend Andrew, but I never got a hold of him in time, so my last minute backup was Jennifer Seeger.
And did she accompany with you to the movies that night?
I arrived to the movie theater first, and she met with me later that night.
What time did you arrive at the movie theater that night?
I want to say maybe, I honestly can't remember what time I arrived.
What did you do when you got to the movie theater?
I checked in my tickets, and I went to Theater 9, and I went to look for a seat. The whole theater was packed. The only room that was available was the first row entirely, and a couple outer seats on the second row. So I sat within the second row on the, if this was a screen, it would be this side.
All right, so if you're facing the movie theater screen, the far right
The
side.
far right side.
And you were in the very second row. From the
I was
far
in the
right.
second row, yes. Probably about 2 to 3 seats in, sorry.
Perfect. What'd you do while you were sitting in the movie theater?
Just looked around, observed a lot of different people. The theater was actually playing some trivias. kind of like fun things before the the trailers haven't even started showing yet. So it's just more like that prepping for the theater. And I was texting my friend Jennifer to kind of confirm if she would make it on time because she was driving from Castle Rock all the way back to Aurora.
Do you recall observing any individual sitting in front of you during that time where you were waiting for the movie to begin?
I do remember a family group of about 4 to 5 people and a lady with an infant in a car seat came and sat in the front row. They looked around for a bit, they got up and then they left. And then I noticed an individual came in and sat down in the front row to the far right.
And what seat did that individual sit in?
I would look like it was the very first seat on the right in the first row.
How would you describe that individual?
The light was dim, so I can't be too direct about the color. It looked like he was wearing a gray outfit. The hair looked a bit reddish orangish, a little bit.
Did it look like a natural hair color to you?
No, it did not.
How would you describe that hair color?
I don't want to, probably a deeper carrot orange, should I say?
What did you observe about that individual sitting in front of you?
He was by himself, and at that time I was speculating what that person could have been doing by themselves, but I didn't read too much into it.
At some point in time, did that person ever move from their seat?
The majority of the time I was sitting there, he was sitting in a seat. When I got a message that my friend had arrived, and I noticed he got up and went towards the emergency exit on the right-hand side of the theater. And I noticed there was a cell phone in the hand, and it seemed, the way his body was positioned, it seemed like he was waiting for somebody to meet with him through the exit door, which I thought was strange. But at that same time, I was walking out to get my friend, so I wasn't paying too much attention to him.
Did you ever hear a phone ring?
No.
Did you ever hear a voice on the other end of the phone?
No.
How would you describe how that person was positioned in the exit door?
In the exit doorway, I know that the exit door was propped open by one foot, his right foot to be exact, and the left foot was on the inside of the building.
Could you see part of that person's body from where you were seated?
I can only see a side profile.
And was it the same person with the orange hair who had been sitting in front of you?
Yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would like to ask Mr. Dates to meet me up here, and we're going to use this as a door to demonstrate for the jury what he saw.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Dates, there is a cordless microphone up there. If you could grab that. All right. And if you could stand here, the theater door hinges this way. So if you could describe for the jury how the defendant's feet were placed in the doorway.
His right foot was propping the door open, and the cell phone, I can't remember if it was in the left or the right hand, but I do remember seeing a cell phone.
And this is how his body's positioned. So
Correct.
If the theater door...
Mr. McGuire, hold on a second. Some of the jurors are saying that they can't see.
Okay, so if he was back further, would that help? Is this better? Okay. All right, so if you could describe that again, Mr. Dates.
So the right foot was propped, was holding the door propped open. It did swing open this way, and his body was leaning a little bit out towards the door, and I don't remember which hand the cell phone was in.
Was the cell phone up to his ear?
It was.
Okay. Now, if is this the area right here that is like the cubby hole that goes back in the theater
Correct.
seats would be back there?
Yes.
Now, approximately where in this room would you have been sitting in proximity to where this person in the doorway was?
Probably where that gentleman in the red shirt is, if I had to judge distance.
And that's about how far away you were that night when you saw this individual. Could you see that individual clearly?
No.
Okay. But could you see that figure clearly, and could you tell for certain that the door was open and propped?
I could tell for that the door was propped, and I could tell it was the same person, because I did remember seeing him getting up and go towards the door.
All right. Thank you. You can take a seat.
Okay.
For the record, Mr. McGuire, do you want to estimate that distance that he just testified to?
23 feet, Your Honor.
Sir, does that sound accurate? Do you know?
Somewhat accurate, maybe a little bit farther away.
Okay, thank you. All right, you may proceed.
My co-counsel is telling me to correct that to 12 feet, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Dates, now when you you got a text from your friend Jennifer at that point in time, right?
Yes.
So what did you do at that point in time?
She informed me that she was just now parking her car, and I informed her that I was going to go out and meet her at the door to hand her her ticket so that we could come back in.
Now, when you got up to leave, was that person still in the doorway?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever see that person again when you came back into the theater?
When I came back in, the lights had just dimmed and the movie was getting ready to start, and the door was not propped open. Otherwise, I would have seen the lights from the outside parking lot beaming in. It was completely pitch black.
The door looked closed to you at that point?
Yes.
So, did you go out to meet Ms. Seeger at the front main lobby area to give her her ticket?
We met each other in the main lobby, and I handed her a ticket, and I rushed her back in because I didn't want to lose our spot.
Were you able to go back and take your seats in the movie theater?
Yes, we were.
All right, Your Honor, if I may approach the witness with what's been marked as People's Exhibit 1120.
Yes.
Mr. Dates, do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
What is that document?
It is the original layout of the theater before the remodeling.
All right, and did you document on there where you actually believe you were seated that night and where you saw that individual with the red-orange hair?
Yes.
Does that fairly and accurately represent what you believe you saw on the night of July 19th of 2012 into July 20th of 2012?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would move for the admission of that exhibit.
Any objection?
No.
Without objection, it is admitted and it may be published.
Could you please have that? All right, Mr. Dates, I'm going to ask you to grab that handheld microphone again, if you don't mind. And there's a very large stick behind you. If you could please show the jury on there where, first of all, you saw the person seated with the orange reddish hair. All right? And then if you could please also describe where you were seated when you first saw him, when you were seated there by yourself.
One of the two seats.
All right, and then when you and Ms. Seeger returned, where were you seated in the theater?
I remember being in 4 and Jennifer was in 3.
All right, and could you also point out for the jury where you actually saw the defendant go through that doorway?
Judge, objection, may we approach?
Yeah.
All right, if I could please have that exhibit back up. Thank you, Mr. Dates. Now, if you can again show for the jury where you saw the person with the reddish orange hair go.
Right here and through the doorway.
Okay, thank you very much. You can have a seat. What was happening in the theater, and you can go ahead and put that stick down.
And you can, go ahead.
What was happening in the theater when you and Miss Seeger returned to the theater?
The theater lights were dimming to black and the movie was getting ready to start.
What happened in the movie?
In the movie, everybody was rather excited. When certain characters came on the screen, they cheered on. And it got to the scene where they are introducing Catwoman. Well, maybe a little bit before that. I can't remember too much. But I do remember that same exact door swinging right open and a person dressed in black walked into the theater.
How would you describe what that person in black looked like?
They definitely had a helmet on, goggles, The only thing that I could see that was not covered up was their eyes. I do remember seeing a automatic rifle, and I do remember seeing something look like a shotgun, and they were strapped around his neck, kind of like a strap to hold it up.
Now, you just said his. Did you know whether it was a male or a female?
Sorry, I did not catch that, no.
Was there anything about the build that made you think that it was a male?
No.
What happens when you see this figure walk into the theater?
I remember that the figure looked around for a bit. I heard two containers were being thrown into the first row of the theater, and two pops went off, and it emitted a type of gas inside of the theater, and then I immediately heard two gunshots at the ceiling, and at that point I immediately went to the ground, and Jennifer went to the ground behind me.
Did you actually see the guns being fired?
I saw the first round go up to the ceiling, and then I immediately went to the ground.
Is it possible that it could have gone up into the stadium seating area of the theater, or do you think it went to the ceiling?
I do remember seeing the gun being pointed up. I do not remember directly seeing it being pointed this way.
After you hear that first shot and you see that first shot, what do you do?
I immediately go to the ground and within the aisle that I'm in, and Jennifer fell behind me because she fell on top of me.
How are your bodies placed when you are on the floor?
Basically laying down, and my initial instinct was to crawl through to the other side.
Now, when you say to the other side, so if you're facing the screen, you're crawling towards the left side of the theater?
Correct, towards the left side.
Were you able to do that at that time?
Yes, I was.
Was Ms. Seeger able to do that at that time?
Ms. Seeger was able to do that too.
How far did you get moving down towards the left side?
It wasn't until about midway, sometime between where I was now and midway, where I started hearing people screaming for their lives. At the time, it was still processing in my mind if this was real. And at that same point, when I was crawling through, the casing of the bullets slid up under the first row of the seats, and one of them did burn me in the leg.
What did that feel like?
It hurt. It burned. Yeah.
What do you remember going on? Was there still gunfire going on?
There was still gunfire going on. I do remember the first shots that I heard sound like it came from a rifle. The second one was a shotgun, and then the third one was a pistol.
Now, what else do you remember you and Miss Seeger doing during that time period?
I do remember people running towards the left side of the auditorium, trying to make it through the exit of the left side. I was not in that group. I was still on the ground with Jennifer. The people in front of me were scared as well too. In my mind process, I wanted to keep them calm because I didn't want the person to come back around and get us.
Now, could you see where the shooter had gone in the theater?
I did not want to look up.
Did you ever notice if the shooter went to the rows behind you at any point in time?
I heard the gunshots go behind me as I was crawling to the left, so I heard gunshots going up this way, but I did not see it because I did not want to look.
Why didn't you want to look?
I just wanted to keep my head down. I did not want to make myself visible or anything.
So what happens while you and Miss Seeger are crawling towards the left side of the theater?
So as we're crawling towards the left side of the theater, the group ahead of me they were able to get up and run towards the exit. I did not see where the shooter was by that point. We did not get up and run instantly. I told her I wanted her to stay close to the ground because my fear was what if the shooter was at the top of the auditorium and picking those off who were going through.
So what did you do next?
So we stayed on the ground. I told her not to move. Her asthma was getting worse, and she had begged me that we had to get out of here. We have to get out of here. But I did not want to move until I knew it was clear. So once it was clear, I got up. I grabbed Jennifer, and I wanted to run out. An individual came back in and said he could possibly be coming back. And when I heard that, I grabbed Jennifer and went down towards the theater, towards the screen, and I told her to lay down and play dead.
Is that what you did?
Yes.
What did you do after that?
I remained quiet. Jennifer could not stop yelling about how bad her asthma was getting. So by the time it seemed clear again, I got up and I noticed behind me in the curtain that there was a gentleman hiding behind the curtain. It was not the shooter. It did not look like he was wearing the same shoes. In fact, the person came out and revealed himself. He did not want to leave. So when I heard the message that he could be coming back, he hid himself back behind the curtain. And then once I got the assumption that we were going to be okay, I ran out towards the auditorium.
Now, just to be clear, this person who is hiding behind the movie theater screen, you believe to be another moviegoer who
Yes.
was afraid of the
Yes.
circumstances. And you said that you thought the shoes were different. What sort of shoes did you see the shooter wearing?
They were more like boots. I remember they were black. Everything was all black. Whatever shoes he was wearing, it was not all black. It did not match.
So how were you finally able to get out of the theater?
Once everything seemed clear, I saw some things that were very uncomfortable in the upper stadium, and
I'm going to stop you for a second. What do you mean? What did you see exactly? If you could please tell the jury.
Objection, Judge, cumulative. 403.
Overruled.
You can go ahead and tell the jury what you saw.
I saw people. I did not want to assume if they were alive or if they were already gone, but I did see them laying over the chairs, and I saw some that were on the stairs, and there was, sorry.
Okay, there's some Kleenex up here if you need it.
There was one person who was laying on the ground just right before the exit of the lobby, and Jennifer later recognized that was a person we went to high school with.
Do you know who that person is?
I heard the name, but me and that person were never actually friends.
Did you see anything else before you left the theater?
No, I ran to the auditorium, and as I was in the auditorium, a police cop was coming past me, and he had a shotgun in his hand as well, too. I looked behind me and noticed that Jennifer was not there, so I freaked out.
What'd you do after that?
I ran back in to find Jennifer, and right before I got to the doors of Theater 9, Jennifer was just coming out. She said, I was trying to save him. I couldn't. So I grabbed her. We ran out to the outside, and in the parking lot, many people were on their cell phones. There were cop cars, and they were stunned at what was going on. My instinct was to get Jennifer to her car, get myself to my car. The fear in my mind of what happened is, what if the cars were rigged as well, too, with bombs? So
were you able to leave the theater parking lot?
the theater parking lot was where one of the exits was. It was crowded and blocked. I don't think the cops were trying to let everybody leave. But I was driving a Jeep at the time, and I took it off-road over the hill and climbed the median and left.
At some point in time, were you able to go to Gateway High School and get interviewed by the police?
Yes. The first place I went to afterwards was my mother's house to tell her everything that happened. She was stunned. She wasn't exactly
Objection,
there to believe me.
relevance.
Sustained.
All right, and
Sorry.
did you make it to Gateway High School?
I did make it to Gateway High School, yes.
Did you sustain any injuries as a result of the shooting?
Only the burn that was on my leg from the bullet casings, nothing further.
But you did have a burn on your leg. And
I
could
did.
you describe for the jury where that was?
It was on my right calf on the outer side.
I have no further questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Dates.
Any cross-examination, Mr. King?
No, thank you.
The jury may have some questions for you, sir. Give us a moment, please. Thank you. Would counsel please approach? Sir, the jury has submitted some questions, and based on the rules of evidence and other applicable rules of law, I have determined that some of these are appropriate, and so I will ask these questions now. The first question is, did you hear the shooter say anything?
No.
The next question is, did you hear the emergency exit door alarm going off?
No.
Any follow-up questions based on those questions, Ms. Tish McGuire?
No, Your Honor.
Any follow-up questions from you, Mr. King?
No, thank you.
May this witness be released from his subpoena?
Please, thank you, Your Honor.
Is there any objection?
Without objection.
All right, sir, thank you. Members of the jury, it's 3:40, so let's go ahead and take our afternoon break at this time. Please keep in mind all of my advisements during the break, and I'll see you back here in 20 minutes at 4. Enjoy the break. Yeah, records reflect that the jury has exited the courtroom. Now everyone may be seated. Is there anything that we need to talk about on behalf of the people at this time, Ms. Pearson?
Your Honor, I'm sorry for doing that, but I distinctly heard your voice, which I don't normally hear when that was going on, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going out over the broadcast or something like that. So
All right.
that's why I did that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Anything on behalf of the people, Ms. Pearson?
Yes, Your Honor. Last week, we introduced Exhibit 306, which was a video of the robot in the car. And court probably noticed there was audio at the beginning of it, which we turned down. We have made a substitute exhibit, which does not contain any audio, so that there can't be any inadvertently played by the jury if they choose to look at the exhibit later.
Any objection to that, Mr. King?
No, sir.
All right, without objection, we will swap that version of P-TR-306 for the one that you tendered last week. In the meantime, Ms. Tischmeier, make sure that you modify the last exhibit that was admitted in accordance with the conversation we had at the bench. And then, Mr. Edson, make sure you modify the exhibit that you admitted, that you indicated had some pages that were duplicated, okay? All right, anything else at this time? Anything from the defense? Ms. Spengler or Mr. King, anything?
No, thank you.
No? Okay, enjoy your break. See you in 20.